All right. The fact that we're spending so much time on the Carmelo Anthony retrial is an injustice on itself. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I'm not saying like to minimize, the every life is valuable. I got it, all that stuff. But the trials that we pick and choose to focus on are partly driven by your interests. Now, if we put something on social media and it goes wild, if we mention something on there and it gets a giant response, doesn't matter if it's me, a radio station or a TV station, you really can drive a lot of that. But this feels forced on. This feels like, well, we're just doing this because it's the narrative. Think of how many other people have been murdered since this happened last year. Are you getting regular updates on the 3 people that were shot at the Airbnb party on Memorial Day weekend? Are you getting regular updates on the the mass shooting that happened at the Sunday Fun Day in Durant? You getting regular updates on any of these other stories that don't fit the narrative? What about the road rage shooting last week, where a woman was innocently murdered by a black guy for the slightest of provocation over a road rage, just going to work on I-20? You going to get regular updates on that? Why not? Oh yeah, it doesn't fit the narrative. Well, with that terrible setup, there's actually a really good summary of what's going on here from our news partner, WFAA, this morning.
A return to court for Carmelo Anthony's trial appeals is also the likely return of other things.
I think it's just going to fuel everything all over again.
Heightened security, lines to get inside, and protests outside.
Verdict guilty of murder. What?
10 weeks after Carmelo Anthony was convicted of murder and sentenced 35 years in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf,
35 years!
his appeal for a new judge and a new trial begin.
Y'all know y'all wrong!
Benita Parker is a longtime defense attorney. Not a party to the case, she tells us the appeal hearings are happening on a very tight timeline.
The judge has 75 days from the verdict day. Everyone's doing their calculations of 75 days.
That means we could know by next Monday if a new trial is granted or even earlier. The defense laid out a long list of objections in support for a new trial.
A lot of people live right now.
About restrictions on public access.
It's the best we got.
A breakdown in unrecorded agreements about evidence.
We're arguing that the dispute regarding the agreement did impact the outcome of the trial.
What will also return is the lingering conversations both sides have maintained this trial should not be about.
From day one, this case was never about race.
Carmelo Anthony will be in court this week. His appeal could take years, and these hearings could take us all back to the trial in June.
There's too much at stake. One of the biggest trials of the decade.
In Collin County, I'm Jobin Puneker.
All right, now that's a great little summary there. Thank you to our news partners, WFAA. But, I mean, really, biggest trial of the century, so much at stake, biggest trial of the decade. Should it be? This should be one of the most open and shut cases you've ever seen in your life. Of course that was a murder. Of course that was a murder. Now that we've had all the evidence come out, now that we've seen it adjudicated, now that he's even had his day in court, we don't even have to say allegedly or reportedly or supposedly or theoretically or technically. Now it's a murder. It was a murder. Now what we have in the fallout on this is getting kind of wild. Let me play you something here. We're going to go back just to June. You with me on this? Come back. Brought the flux capacitor. We're going to go in the Wayback Machine. So Carmelo Anthony was in the middle of the trial, and Stephen A. Smith responding to just all kinds of, because it was a super viral story, even nationwide. I mean, of course, here because this happened in our backyard, but everyone in the country was talking about this during the trial. This is what Stephen A. Smith said.
Carmelo Anthony murdered Austin Metcalf. There is no other way to slice it. How else do you explain, or can you explain you at a track meet appearing in a visitor's tent, Austin Metcalf and his brother, according to reports, come over to you asking you to leave because you're sitting under their tent. An argument ensues. Folks have said it spanned more than 5-6 minutes Others said it went as long as 15. A two-hand shove is believed to have happened by one witness. Another witness said it was a one-hand shove. How does that justify Carmelo Anthony pulling out a knife and stabbing Austin Metcalf to death? How? That's not justification.
Now, I think I'm far more interested in the aftermath of this trial than the trial itself. I thought the trial itself was boring. Of course, that was a murder. Just this is a formality. Get it done. Let me know what his sentence is after he's been found guilty. But Stephen A. Smith, he says things like that, and he's also left the reservation on the WNBA talk because he's like, that's a dude. Everyone knows that's a dude. They should play with the dudes. And it's not a real controversial, it's not a real hateful position he's taken here. But Stephen A. Smith just got a thumbs down of disapproval from the National Association of Black Journalists. Now, he has been given awards from them in the past. And in fact, the last 2 years before last week, he had gone to the National Association of Black Journalists and did his show from there, giving them all kinds of attention they have never gotten in their entire life. And that's how much he supported them. But if you leave the reservation, if you say something outside of bounds on racial issues or women's issues or rainbow issues, you get ostracized.
So when you say that I am disparaging black women, you need to back that up. And as an organization, the NABJ failed to do so. If you want to engage in politics and you want to say, we don't like the political tilt that you have to your commentary, well, that's a worthy discussion for a journalistic organization. But you're a journalistic organization that's supposed to be foundation, based on fact. And that's supposed to be your foundation, that and objectivity. And you were neither objective nor factual because they were wrong with what they were saying. They didn't have any facts and they clearly weren't objective. And that was my point. And to give me that thumbs down 5 weeks before I'm to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'm calling them out for it because it makes no sense whatsoever. There's no truth to what they're claiming, and it's highly offensive, and I want the world to know that.
He's so right, and I think this is a case that's kind of waking some people up here. They're like, this really isn't about protecting black people anymore. This is just about hating white people. In fact, this is about politics because all you're doing is sharpening up the anti-white racism so these other people won't think about voting along with these people that they've been made to demonize. It really is about politics, but it's also the very expected result of a lifetime of anti-white grooming. I'll give you a good example of that that's getting shredded online right now. Did you ever see the movie Hidden Figures? How NASA was racist to these 3 black female engineers? It was all lies. But it fits in with the exact same line of thought here for Carmelo Anthony. It doesn't matter what the truth is. It doesn't matter what justice is. Can we make you hate America? Can we make you think this is an evil, racist country? Can we make you suspicious of your neighbor just because of his skin color? And that's really ugly, and we're going to blow it out of the water next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So Carmelo's trying to get a retrial and is getting a lot of attention. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Be sure to remember the WBAP morning show when you wake up. So the focus on the Karmelo Anthony trial is kind of understandable in the sense that it gets a lot of attention when I post stuff on social media about it. It gets a lot of comments. People like to hear about it. It is a good talking point. But a lot of people are asking smart questions like, why does this trial get so much attention when other ones don't? There's other questionable trials. There's other interesting murder cases out there. But you and I both know it's the same reason last week someone spray painted some mean words in the middle of Frontage Road and Nowhere Mesquite, and it made the news. The demand for white racism far outstrips the supply. So if it comes to it, we've just got to make it up, or we've got to hype it up, or we've got to come up with it from somewhere. And so, like, what journalistic standard? Explain to me, if you were the news director of a TV station, how that story is more important, gets 90 seconds of your A block, which is your most important, expensive prime time space to give it. 90 seconds. You could have fit 3 stories into that. Does that affect any of your audience? Does that give them any information on, whether there's traffic or there's weather, or sometimes it's something that everyone's going to be talking about, like a sports score? No, nothing like that. Is this an economic issue? Is this something that affects the pocketbook of the audience of these media outlets that are focusing on either the Karmelo Anthony trial or the swastika that was spray painted on a road in Mesquite last week? Is this part of a larger issue that society is dealing with as a whole? That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that this is something regular, that white racism is such a problem in America that they've got to counter it, they've got to pay attention to it. Interesting, huh? Because I don't see any other excuse on why the Karmelo Anthony story gets this much exposure in the media, other than it drives a wedge between the races, and that benefits Team Blue politically. Now, if this was really a white supremacist country, would the media act like this? If this was really a white supremacist country, would the media be giving you the sympathetic take from the Karmelo Anthony supporters more than the Metcalf supporters? Here's another one. Hidden Figures. I never saw this movie. It came out 10 years ago. It was supposedly about 3 black female engineers in the NASA space program who overcame racism, overcame segregation, overcame colored restrooms, overcame using a different coffee pot, single-handedly did the calculations that saved the day and made the space race possible. Turns out none of that was true. Here's a clip from Hidden Figures. Just remember, this movie happened. NASA was never segregated, by the way. NASA was made in 1958. It was never segregated. Part of the previous organizations that were constituted and made up NASA, some of them had segregation at some time. But when this movie was supposedly set, there was no segregation. There was no separate bathroom. She didn't have to go anywhere special to go to the bathroom.
Where the hell have you been? Everywhere I look, you're not where I need you to be. It's not my imagination. Now, where the hell do you go every day?
To the bathroom, sir.
To the bathroom. To the damn bathroom. For 40 minutes a day? What are you doing there? We're T-minus 0 here. I put a lot of faith in you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform, skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colored enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch.
Garrett just said in my ear, phenomenal acting. Yeah, it was phenomenal acting. In fact, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that. And the movie was nominated for Best Picture. And you're damn right it's great acting, because none of that ever happened. There was no separate coffee pot. There was no separate bathroom. There was no room for colored computing. That was all made up just for the movie. And why do they have to make that up? They have to feed you this racist fiction so you will continue with the narrative. This country's racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, terrible. White people are evil, especially white Americans, especially straight white Christian male. It's just the worst people ever. Can you believe how they treated these ladies? It was all lies. But Carmelo Anthony has had nothing but a steady diet of those anti-white racist lies his entire life. Are you really that surprised that people would think, well, he feared for his life? He was surrounded by white people. And look how evil they are. Every movie that I've ever watched has taught me that. All the Academy winners have taught me that. All my favorite celebrities and musicians and actors and actresses and academics have all taught me that. It's all a lie. Here's John Doyle doing a quick breakdown.
You saw Hidden Figures, 3 brilliant black queens crunching the numbers, doing the math, outsmarting the racists, launching astronaut John Glenn into orbit to make history despite all of the racism they faced along the way. It gets Oscar noms, it's a box office smash, they're watching it in schools, it's a whole thing. Yeah, so like it's literally just propaganda.
All right, I'll play you the rest of the 2 minutes of that coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And the Karmelo Anthony story is really not even about the murder. It's not about the trial. It's about the reaction of the people around it. And the people who are still on board with defending this guy, with raising money for this guy, with protesting. Like I saw the protesters in the news package from WFAA this morning. And I was like, oh, look, they pulled some B-roll, some old footage from the protests that were happening back in June. And my boss, Bruce, was like, no, I think that was from this morning. And I was like, are you sure that's from this morning? Yep. There's people out there now. And this is the mindset we have to fight here. Because how bad does it have to be to still, like, how far down the fantasy rabbit hole do you have to be to still be supporting this guy? To take time out of your day to go protest in the morning at a courthouse in McKinney about this. Now, this is all about the narrative, and I mean narrative with the capital N and the little TM trademark superscript next to it, the narrative. Because the narrative is you can't trust straight white Christian males. You can't trust this. This is a terrible country. Its values are terrible. Its traditions are terrible. Its religion's terrible. Its economic system is terrible. It all needs to be overthrown. Well, the one thing that can really keep people divided just by bringing it up for some terrible reason is skin color. And they've been able to control and take the votes of most of the black community, 90% of the black community, over this myth. So ignoring this myth is dumb. Not talking about it is crazy. Combating it is what we need to do to get past it. But you can't blame these people for thinking that when this is all they've been told. They've been fed a steady diet of lies about this country in order to get them to hate it. And I was just bringing up one of the great examples here is the Hidden Figures myth. The Hidden Figures was a movie, came out 10 years ago. It was supposedly about the 3 black female engineers who did the calculus and did the math that no one else could and made the space race possible. And then they did it while facing down evil white Christian males who were totally racist and segregation and Jim Crow and different bathrooms and different coffee pots. And it was all a lie. But they got nominated for Academy Awards. In fact, they got, you can go look at the list of awards that they won. They won Art Directors Guild Award, the BET Awards, British Academy Film Award, Chicago Film Critics Award, Detroit, Florida, Georgia Film Critics Awards. They were nominated for 2 Golden Globes. I mean, it goes on and on what they won. Here's a breakdown of how the whole thing was a lie. Now, why would they have to lie about this? Because if they told the truth, the races would come together and black people would be like, well, if they're not lying about all this other stuff and they don't hate us, well, maybe we should listen to them when it comes to economic policy or the size of government or social security reform or education or national defense or drug policy or any of these other issues. John Doyle, breaking down the Hidden Figures myth.
You saw Hidden Figures, 3 brilliant black queens crunching the numbers, doing the math, outsmarting the racists, launching astronaut John Glenn into orbit to make history despite all of the racism they faced along the way. It gets Oscar noms, it's a box office smash, they're watching it in schools, it's a whole thing. Yeah, so like it's literally just propaganda. The first myth, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, these were NASA's secret weapons. Without them, we'd never reach space. The movie even shows Johnson single-handedly calculating Glenn's orbit, just saving the day. The reality is that Johnson was basically a human computer just like doing routine math, one of hundreds of people employed by NASA to do this particular job. Glenn's actual trajectory was done by IBM machines and white engineers like Jack Crenshaw, who actually invented the figure 8 path used for Apollo moonshots. So Crenshaw's algorithms got us to the moon. Johnson's contributions were literally just like basic slide rule stuff that were exaggerated for film drama. And the movie just like outright invents these scenes like Vaughn teaching the programming language Fortran, just like never happened. And the first black female engineer title was true. However, the contributions were minor. Myth number 2. Racism almost crushed these black queens, but then they triumphed over evil white guys. Yeah, the movie wants to paint like segregated bathrooms and hostile bosses as these barriers, but NASA actually integrated relatively early, by 1958, before this movie even takes place. No like colored computer signs actually existed. It was literally just like made up for the movie. Boss Al Harrison smashing the sign. No, like black women faced hurdles, sure, but the incredible urgency of the space race actually trumped all prejudice. Merit was literally the only thing that mattered in this environment. So the real heroes were guys like Crenshaw, literally solving like orbital mechanics while Hollywood just erases them for diversity narrative points. Myth number 3, these hidden figures were unsung geniuses unfairly erased by history. If we're keeping score objectively, NASA's successes were a white male triumph, von Braun's rockets, Shepard's flights, Armstrong's steps. Black contributions existed, sure, but if we're keeping score, relatively marginal. Which in fact is what communists have always wanted to believe anyway, since they will never live down that a bunch of white American Christians, the best of the best of the best, invented interplanetary travel. It's difficult for some to see us reach the stars when they cannot reach the second floor, when they cannot feed their people or do anything resembling civilization.
Now they have to lie, just like they have to lie about Hidden Figures, they have to lie about the Odyssey. Because if they didn't steal your culture's accomplishments, if they didn't steal their political opponents' culture and values and accomplishments, well, then they would have to look internally and be like, well, they must be doing something right and we must be doing something wrong. But here you can just take it and be like, no, it wasn't straight white Christian males who overwhelmingly are responsible for the greatest accomplishment in human history. No, it was secretly these 3 black female scientists. Yeah, that's the ticket. And so that came out in 2016. In 2024, these ladies got a Medal of Honor from Congress. Now, this was in 2024. This was 8 years. You had 8 years to fact check this movie. And if you did what John Doyle did, some guy in his 20s that works at the Blaze Media, you can't tell me he has a better research capability and staff than ABC News. But here's how ABC News reported on the Hidden Figures Medal of Honor, or whatever it's called, Congressional Medal of Gold or something. This was just 2 years ago in 2024.
Finally tonight here, America Strong, hidden no more.
Tonight, the honor, long overdue. Congress's highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal, awarded to the hidden figures of the space race, hidden no more. Mary Jackson was an engineer and a pioneer.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Part of a small group of black women hired as mathematicians at NASA, helping America win the space race. She was known as one of the human computers at Langley. There was Dr. Darden, known for her sonic boom research, Dorothy Vaughan, NASA's first black supervisor, and Katherine Johnson, calculating the precise trajectories that would allow Apollo 11 to land on the moon.
It is quite an honor and a privilege to be here representing the many women of Apollo and the space program who dedicated their lives and talent to making sure the sky is never the limit.
An extraordinary honor, long overdue.
If this was a white supremacist country, if this was a racist country, would ABC be reporting like that? Would they be going back and rewriting history so it diminishes the accomplishments of white people and hands them off to others? If this was really a racist, systemically racist country, would the Golden Globes, the Academy Awards, ABC News, and all of these other institutions agree with that lie, front the lie, not even research the lie? If they did research the lie, go out and continue lying about it? Would everything be galvanized against white people if this was a white supremacist country? I think you're going to hear from Lawrence in Fort Worth next on the James Show. But if you want to jump in, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227, because this is the big lesson from the Karmelo Anthony trial and aftermath. We have to stop this false narrative that is anti-white racism, and we have to be a little more bold and less scared to stand up against it. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and just like you, just kind of understanding the dastardly reason why the Karmelo Anthony trial is still getting so much media attention, and that's because it fits the narrative. And if the races ever came together and they didn't divide us constantly, we may turn around and look at DC and be like, how come y'all can't balance the budget, actually? What's keeping y'all from making some significant cuts so you and I don't get a 4% pay cut this year? Inflation is probably going to be above 3% for the annual total here. Don't expect it to go down until they get that budget together. But for all the things that we're backbiting about, if we stop that and we focused on them, what a difference it would make. Lawrence in Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Go.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. You know, my brother, you said a mouthful. Everything you say is 100% spot on. If the races would ever come together, the shot callers, the puppet masters, they'd be in a world of hurt. What Stephen A. Smith is going through, what I would tell Stephen, welcome to my world. I've been on Black Talk Radio for about 16 years, all over the country, from D.C., all over New York, Chicago, Atlanta. Everybody knows how I roll. I'm sitting in the car with a good friend of mine. He's a business owner. I'm not going to say his name, the business, but bottom line, he had a black man over by the GM plant where my wife worked earlier today from Florida pull a gun on him. He ain't did nothing. He filed the police report. This goes to the heart of what's happening in America. Black folks in America, these young thugs, they done lost their damn mind. The only thing they understand is violence. Like I said before, I got a 40 on my hip and 3 extra mags, not counting the one in the gun. I carry a gun not for white people, not for Latinos, not for Asians or Arabs. I carry a gun for black people. I'm a God-fearing, law-abiding man. My son's a federal officer. My daughter works for Arlington. Hey, bro, my wife's a union rep. I'm involved in politics. I do the right thing. But the point of the matter is, in the black community, we got a pathology that took hold in the black community where they saying the hell with what's right. They're not going to abide by the laws. They're not going to respect nobody. They're gonna perpetrate violence on everybody. And this Karmelo thing, exactly what you said, I done spoke to a lot of black people in the community, and I say, look, I got a gun on my hip. If you push me, is that reason enough to pull my gun out and shoot you? Well, how the hell can you say Karmelo was self-defense? He didn't hit his mouth. He didn't get kicked or stomped. He didn't get jumped. All the guy was pushed him. Well, why didn't you push the guy back? You're going to take another person's life, and then you're going to have these hood rat blacks, and I call them hood rats. That's what they are. You're going to sit back and say it's justifiable for you to kill a person, take a person's life because they push you at a track meet? My kids ran track up in Lansing, Michigan. We understand testosterone. We understand youth, but his parents raised him like a wild animal. His parents are dogs, straight out dogs. I have told a lot of black people, I've said it in a lot of different platforms, you didn't raise your son. You raised a predator. He's out here killing people, doing wrong. If it wouldn't have been the Metcalf, it would have been somebody else. And here's the caveat. Please understand this. With the epidemic of black people killing each other, how can you justify or condone this type of behavior from that dude, from Karmelo Anthony to the Metcalf family? These guys, they could have talked it out. They could have manned up and fought like men, but you going to take a knife, and ain't nobody else got a weapon, but you going to take a knife and kill somebody and then say it's self-defense? Well, you know what, Brother James, in my world, they just showed me and everybody that I know how they think. I'm from Michigan. I done lived all over the country. If this is how black people in Texas, and James, I just came back from Atlanta, me and the family, 40,000 black folks, no fussing, no fighting, none of this stuff. Black folks in Texas are a different type of black folks. these black folks from Louisiana and other parts come here and they act like damn animals. And I'm going to say this to the white community. Quit feeling sorry. Quit being self-conscious. As long as you know you're in the right and you can stand before a judge like a judge told me, Mr. Collins, if you do something, you better be able to stand before this bench and justify it. And, hey, look, I ain't got no knife wounds, no bullet holes in me. I'm in the security business. I ain't never had to kill nobody, shoot nobody for the simple fact. America, let these know you will plant their ass. Do
Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. You know, we started the show with our top story is, look, and whether you're interested in it or not, it's trending way up there on social media. But it's the specter that Karmelo Anthony might get a retrial. And we're probably going to find out by the end of this week if that's going to happen. But a lot of people are still surprised that people are on Karmelo Anthony's side. I think you should be pleasantly surprised on how many people who would normally be on the side of Team Blue politics on this one are actually dropping their tribalism and admitting that the Karmelo Anthony looks a lot like a murder. On top of that, we have another initiative here that's sort of safety-minded that probably affects and concerns is of interest to people around here, and that's the safety of our children at schools. And so now there's some new programs and policies that are being touted by federal, state, local leaders to keep your kids safe at school. And I'll just play this is a good report from WFAA, but again, skepticism is coming right after that. If you're not shocked here, James is skeptical of a government program.
You're not just playing.
So, WFAA.
Federal officials addressing systemic failures, announcing a new initiative to combat abuse inside Texas public schools, explaining actions across the state have endangered the lives of children. The new announcement is called Project Safe Schools, essentially a movement towards transparency and accountability to keep children safe inside their classrooms. The U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, Texas DPS, Kaufman County DA, the TEA, and others announcing change has arrived.
The culture of silence surrounding misconduct in North Texas public schools is over.
When it comes to protecting children, I believe all of us can agree that this is a state, local, and a federal issue.
Addressing the problem as statewide and then zeroing in on our recent reporting in the charges of both a former elementary principal and special education teacher at Forney ISD, addressing systemic failures by administrators to do their job in reporting, investigating, and mitigating the harm of children. With this new project, local, state, and federal offices are now asking for voluntary self-disclosure in all districts across the state. And if a district fails to do so, looming punishment awaits. The U.S. Attorney explaining that he is under direct order from both President Donald Trump as well as General Blanche to be the tip of the spear in both state and local law enforcement. In Dallas, I'm Aaron House.
All right, Aaron, that was a great report. I'm just not too big on this program because whenever you're introducing another government program to solve an issue, the first thing I ask, being the sort of founding fathers, constitutional libertarian jerk that I am, is do we have any other programs that are addressing this issue? Because if they have already failed, why would this new program be different? Please explain to me why we need this, and explain to me how it's significantly different than the first one, and explain to me why we're still keeping the first one, even though we've already demonstrated it to be a failure. And this comes up on so many of the social programs that are had, especially at the local level. Like at the local level, we have a program to help feed the poor and senior citizens in the city of Dallas. And this is just a hypothetical. I'm sure this exists. I'm not thinking about anything specific. But whenever someone proposes that, the mindless foot soldier, the no critical thinking automaton goes, oh, yeah, so that would be good. We use money and we help feed poor people. What's wrong with that? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. First off, do we already have existing programs to help feed poor people and the homeless or seniors or whatever? And if so, the idea that we need another one is admitting the first one failed. So why are we keeping that one? How will this next one be any different? If the first program where you throw money and food at poor people didn't fix the problem, why would expanding that or adding another layer of failed policy be different? Is there any programs at the county level? Is there any programs at the state level? Is there any programs at the federal level? How many overlapping programs to feed poor people or seniors or whatever do we already have? And this is one of them. We already have several programs and policies and certifications to try and prevent this. If you're admitting that we need another one, you're admitting that the previous ones have failed. Have we gone back and even revisited the process by which we certify teachers, or we report the crimes, or we just add another layer of government on top of the previous 4 failed layers of government under the guise that would make us safer? Because that makes no sense. This is Chris in Plano. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Chris.
I just wanted to... Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great. Go.
All right. I just wanted to say that, I was on the jury pool for Karmelo Anthony.
Shut up.
I made it up to the last cut before they picked the final jury. And I got to tell you, the only thing that was ever discussed was what the law was, what the definitions were. If people would be able to, based on the evidence, be able to provide vote for a conviction if the evidence supported it. And I got to say that, there wasn't any moving people around or anything like that to guarantee one way or the other on who was sitting on the jury. It was all people that were able to objectively look at the evidence based on the law and be able to provide a decision. Now, if he didn't get the one he wanted, then that's why they have appeals. But I got to tell you, from where I was sitting, everything was up to snuff and wasn't a problem.
Well, thank you for sharing what you saw behind the scenes there, Chris in Plano, because I think some people are mistaking what they see on TV for what the general tenor of the public at large is. And I have been pleasantly surprised with the amount of lefties, black lefties, Democrats, people of color, women who normally wouldn't be on the same side as a Team Red conclusion, but have to admit on this one, it's like, hey, defending this guy is wrong. This looks like murder. So I appreciate you adding your flavor to the story there, Chris.
Well, as a veteran and as a licensed concealed carry holder, even though I know I don't need it anymore, I know the difference between justification of being able to use force and not. And of course, I didn't see the evidence because I didn't make the jury. But at the end of the day, parents out there need to teach their children the value of restraint and proportional response. Just like the gentleman before, Lawrence, I think he hit on an idea. Just because somebody pushes you, don't mean you just stab them.
Yeah, well, I think most people understand that of all races, and I think there's really just a subset within a subset that doesn't understand that. Because when I was growing up, I was listening to the Dr. Dre and the Chronic and Doggy Dog World and Eazy-E and Easy Does It, Tim Dog and all that. I didn't take it as an instruction manual. I took that as, wow, what an amazing story these guys are telling, having to live this life and shoot these guys and whatever. I was under no impression that Ice Cube was going out just spraying bullets on the weekends. I was under no impression that you were really supposed to be shooting at people for the slightest of grievances. Coming up next, Carlos Tercios from Dallas Express is going to give you the inside scoop on whether or not this McKinney recall effort will work and some other things he's seen behind the scenes in the Islamification of North Texas. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Remember, September 9th and 10th, the Republican midterm convention is happening right here at the AAC. And Garrett, I was checking in with some of our castmates here on WBAP. I was asking today if Joe Pags is coming up. Now, they're planning on coming and being at the RNC. What do you mean, poor Joe? Oh, you love Joe. I'm sorry. I thought you said poor Joe. Yeah. No, but that's just an example. This is going to bring all the cool kids into town. Well, from the political world. I guess we're probably more dorks to the outside world. But we're all the dorks are going to be here. All the coolest dorks. But I was saying, if Joe Pags needs to use a studio, he can have your seat. You're not doing anything over there. And maybe his daughter Sam can give lessons on being a radio show producer, huh? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, he does have a daughter, and she is about your age, so let's make it happen. Okay, now listen. Not to get caught off on a side tangent here, but I have never seen Garrett exercise his game. I would love to see what that looks like. I would love to see what it looks like to have Garrett actually try and pick up a beautiful young woman. All right, not now, Garrett. We got to get to my next guest. Carlos Tercios is coming back on from Dallas Express. And Carlos, you've been putting up some great videos from like the McKinney meeting last week about the giant mosque. And then there was Representative Keith Self that was making some very bold statements on social media that were blowing up. Then you had the former mayor make some like pretty much a diss track on the Keith Self statement. So there's been a big back and forth. And now we have a recall effort going. And so McKinney's getting more attention than he usually gets. First, in any part of the recap I missed, Carlos? We're talking with Carlos Tercios from Dallas Express. 5 hours ago, you put up a video on your X feed where it's the Dallas College board members. They were honored by a Muslim student But when she goes and she speaks, this is sort of a public event. It looks like a city council event. But she's totally covered up. And when I say she's wearing a headscarf, she's got the headscarf. She's got the veil on. She only has that slit where you can see her eyes. She looks like she's about to go guard the Emperor from Return of the Jedi after this. So is she even Palestinian? Because in the comments section, she's she's like, okay, you got an award for an art piece about the Palestinian beaches, but you're not even Palestinian. Doesn't it feel weird to get a morality lecture from a woman who's actively participating in oppression? Yeah. 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 What does that have? Yeah. What does that have to do with the community college in Dallas? Thank you very much, Carlos Tercios. You're such a great follow on social media. Check out more of his work at DallasExpress.com. Coming up next, data center back and forth on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, Texas homeowners. James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And listen, Rhino Shield will take care of your house super good in times like this because regular paint doesn't insulate your house right now when it's 128 degrees or whatever it is outside. Look, it's going to be above 100 for like the next 6 days. If you already had Rhino Shield, you would be experiencing so many of the benefits right now because right now, this is when your paint would be cracking because it got all condensed and contracted during the winter, and now that's going to be 108 for the next 10 days. This is where it would expand, and this is where you'd see the flaking, the peeling, the cracking. This is where it'd start to look like garbage. Well, Rhino Shield expands and contracts with your house, so boom, you're not going to have that problem. Also, right now, it gives you a 6.9 R factor, which just means it adds to your insulation, which just means it's going to keep your house cooler. It's going to keep it more comfortable as far as the humidity goes. It's going to keep your electric bill lower than it otherwise would be. So you're missing out right now. Right now is crunch time for Rhino Shield. If you don't have it already on your home, you need to get it on as fast as possible so you can do some of this, so you can save some money on your electric bill, so you can block UV rays, so you can live a more comfortable and beautiful home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The data center battle, we're not going to solve it today. That's all right. I appreciate all of my listeners who agree with me on data centers, and I appreciate all of my listeners who are wrong. But in this one, this isn't just your normal data center back and forth, what we're dealing with today. This is the data center proposed for Westlake, and Keller just stopped it. They got a judge to stop it. Now, I don't care if you're for data centers or against data centers. You should be against this. Keller can now tell Westlake what projects they can and can't approve. Oh, well, it's pretty close to Keller. Well, it's not Keller. Yeah, but I can see it from my car if I'm standing in the... Really? WFAA, great report from our news partners here.
Where in less than 3 hours, a state house committee on data centers is set to meet. Earlier this month, Governor Greg Abbott ordered state regulators to audit all data centers seeking connection to the state's electric grid, saying non-compliant projects will be denied power. This comes as a battle over a proposed data center brews here in North Texas.
The city of Keller now says it will take legal action to stop a facility from being built in the neighboring town of Westlake. Our Brittany Moncrief is live for us in Keller to break down this ongoing debate. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning. Well, the city of Keller and the town of Westlake have had a long-standing working relationship, but recently the two find themselves at odds, and it's all over plans to build this data center. Now, the 1.1 million square foot data center will be on Highway 377 in Westlake, roughly 3,000 feet from Westlake Homes. But here's the issue. It's only 500 feet from Keller Homes, raising environmental concerns. Now, just before Westlake City Council could approve plans for the build, a Tarrant County judge granted a homeowners association in Keller a temporary restraining order blocking any vote. Then Tuesday, Keller City Council authorized a special counsel to take all necessary steps for legal action against this project. We sit down with both mayors exclusively.
I feel bad for the situation. But this issue is really around, does the town of Westlake have a right for economic development the way we see fit within our own borders?
We have serious concerns about whether the spirit and letter of applicable law have been followed. A judge or jury will ultimately determine the merits of our legal claims.
Whew, so hard to get good reporting on a data center, but that was it right there. That was it. That's what I'm asking for. When I gripe to you guys, that's what I'm looking for. And this is starting to really make me pull my hair out, because we have a Texas governor who sounds like a governor from Pennsylvania. The Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, was just on CBS Morning News. I think this was yesterday. And tell me, is this not the exact same policy? A Northeast Democrat governor is rolling the exact same policy playbook as the Republican governor of Texas? Tell me something's not wrong with this.
Now to a major development in the growing controversy over AI data centers. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro signed an executive order Tuesday to implement widespread restrictions on the development of data centers in his state. We should know he's considered to be a potential Democratic presidential candidate in 2028. And I'm pleased to say the governor joins us from just outside of Philadelphia. Governor Shapiro, good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. So, Governor, I was going through your executive order, and you lay out a number of guardrails, including environmental reviews, energy and water reports, and protections against rising electricity costs. All sounds good. But how exactly do you plan to enforce this? And are you all concerned about businesses going elsewhere? Because, Governor, if I'm a tech company, I might just say, well, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Well, we now have the nation's strictest guardrails when it comes to developing AI data centers in Pennsylvania.
Wait, let me contrast that with your governor. This should not be happening. The Republican governor of a super red state like Texas should not sound like the Democrat governor of a Northeast state.
Data centers must bring their own power. They must reuse their own water, and they must reduce electricity costs for residential customers as well as small business customers. Those are bottom line expectations.
That's the same thing. And that's not like a one-off. Here he is back in June fighting data centers.
Before talking about property taxes, let me tell you about something else that I'm fighting for that dovetails right into fighting for East Texas values. And that is pushing back against these AI data centers that are trying to build in our neighborhoods.
Hey, I don't buy that. First off, that's not East Texas values. I'm from East Texas. That's not my values. I'm from East Texas. I believe in free market capitalism. I'm from East Texas. I believe in private property rights. I'm from East Texas. I believe that the regime that got us 620 data centers with no significant negative consequences, or they would be being brought up every day, should be continued for the 622nd data center. And I have the hardest time just figuring out where this came from. If you've been listening to the James Show, you know that like I'm on a quest, like Where's Waldo or Carmen Sandiego or any of those missing people. Where did this come from? Because data centers have existed for all of your life. And that's not an exaggeration. There have been data centers your entire life. They exploded in the 90s. And there have been hundreds of data centers all over Texas for the last 40 years. And now all of a sudden in the last year, we have a problem with them. That belies logic. Something else is going on here. Yes, of course it's been politicized, Garrett. Ryan in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, I think there really is something different going on inside this data center. I'm all 100% for the data center, but I think it's all around the power generation. And I think everybody needs to really look at what they're talking about when they come to power generation. They're wanting them to use, I think, natural gas generators and the micronuclear to do all the power generation for these and get them off our power grid. And you look at some of the big companies here within Texas that are doing those type of projects. And I think there's probably, some lobbying going on to try to get that to push in that. So I'll hang up and I'll listen to your comment.
Yeah, the power generation concern seems to be just an excuse to seize the private property rights of these people and get concessions. And just like every piece of power that you give these people is something that can turn around and be sold. That's all they want to do with these data centers. These data centers are gold mines. They produce wealth constantly. And so politicians know that, well, they're spending billions and billions to build these. They must be worth billions and billions to these companies. And if they want to build them in a friendly state like Texas, with a friendly tax regime like Texas, with a friendly tort reform regime like Texas, with friendly business laws like Texas, well, if I can scare some people into letting me decide when and where they get built, well, then someone's going to have to pay me for that right. If they want my vote, they're going to have to win my support. They're going to have to donate to my campaign. They're going to have to give contracts to my friends. And whatever the excuse is, I just need an excuse to make them dance. And you people are giving it to them. Yeah, they have to generate their own power. Says who? Did we make you have to generate your own power? Why do you get special concessions, or why do they get discriminatory rules that no one else has to follow? That's not just. That's not justice. That's not free markets. That's not capitalism. That's not fair. That's not right. But somehow you've been feared, not you, but somehow so many people in Texas have been tricked into fearing these things, that they're making very irrational decisions. And it's not good for Texas, y'all. And now we have the specter of your private property rights have been so diminished. Not only can we tell you what you can and can't do with your own private property in our city limits, but the adjacent city, we now got a judge to swing a gavel on that too. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'll continue breaking down this data center fight coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Am I about to get beat up over data centers again? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, I don't mind. Data centers are a hot topic, and this is something that no one cared about until maybe 6 months ago, and now supposedly it's the most important thing ever, and I have no problem talking about this because you people that are opposing data centers and you're all foaming at the mouth stopping this, you're all wrong. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a legit concern about data centers, but if you are concerned about their water usage or their electricity usage or their environmental impact or their noise, the question or the approach should be, okay, how do we build these things and accommodate, the noise or the power or the water? No, we've got to stop them. We can't let them. I forbid them from being built. That ain't happening, bro. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. You sound like liberals when we're like, we need to ban guns. If we just outlawed it, that'll get rid of them. No, it won't. Outlawing data centers isn't going to get rid of data centers. It's just going to move them. It's not going to help any more than outlawing crack is going to keep Hunter Biden from smoking a rock tonight. Do you want these things here? Do you want the wealth generation here? Do you want the investments here? Do you want the company's base of operations to be here? Do you want it to be in China? They're going to use them to spy on it. Well, then you better damn well keep them here instead of in China. Every argument against this is bad. Every single one. Wes in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
My 2 cents on it is where they're being put. So I used to live in the city. I moved to the country for a reason. Now I have a data center within 3 miles of me. That's not what I wanted. They should build the data centers out in the country where nobody's at, and then let the population move in around it so they know what they're moving into, instead of just putting it in your back door.
How is that specific to data centers?
But because just like you said on the last, the 2 cities that are backdoor to backdoor, how many feet away are they from residential? They didn't move to those residential houses to look at a data center. I'm saying build a data center somewhere else and then let a city grow around it. That way you know what you're moving into instead of getting a surprise of, hey, now we're going to build a data center in your backyard.
No, my point still stands. Would you be okay if it was a Buc-ee's that was built by you out in the middle of nowhere?
Well, yes and no, because there's obviously...
no, come on now. The answer is no. Listen. I'm just trying to speed this up.
Area, residential zone, and now you're changing the zoning from residential to something completely different.
But you said you live out in the country, right?
I do live in the country.
So there's not really a zoning issue out there.
There is. It's farmland.
So they can build on farmland.
I understand that, but if the city, if a town wants to grow in around the farmland, then that is fine.
All right, I'm just trying to listen. Let's speed this up. So is this something that's specific to data centers, or do you have a problem with any development? Because I have a friend who lives out in the country, out by Ennis, and she's griping about a data center because it has so much light, and you see all this light pollution. And my response to that would your complaints be any different if that was an Amazon distribution center that was putting a lot of light into the sky in the middle of the country? And she said no. So her problem isn't with data centers. Her problem is with any development out there.
Well, I am in construction, so that's what puts food on my table. I'm not against the construction of things. I'm against the construction of things that are in residential areas that should be residential and stay residential. There's plenty of land in the state.
So what if it was a hot dog stand?
A dog stand? Is it?
No, it's not residential.
No, it belongs in the city.
All right, so now you don't have a problem with data centers. You just think that because you live in a close proximity to someone else's property, you can tell them what they can and can't do with it.
No, I can't rezone my property to something different.
This isn't a zoning issue. This isn't a zoning. Get off the zoning.
It does go through zoning. You're building on residential.
I know, but this isn't a zoning. Philosophically speaking, this isn't a zoning argument. So you would be okay with the data center built next to you if it would just got rezoned?
Absolutely not. That's
okay. So it's not a zoning issue. You just proved my point.
How? I moved to a residential area where residential buildings are
right, and I hear this a lot. And a lot of people that move out to residential areas or people that move out into the country think that just because someone else's property is within eyesight of where they live, that they have some sort of control over what they can and can't do with their private property. I think that's a philosophically flawed argument and anti-private property argument.
When over 80% of public land in the state of Texas is privately owned, and it's privately owned by people that want to keep it a certain way, and they get a paycheck to do it. It is what it is.
Can I tell you what to do with your? Hey, if I move in next door to you, can I tell you what to do with your private property because I'm within eyesight of it?
The government tells me what to do with my property all the time because my tax rate.
Yeah, that's a good dodge, but I'm right on that.
No, I'm not. That's
No,
not
just
a
admit
development.
you
That's
want
not
to be
a
able to control what someone else can do with their private property
I
just
wanna
because you can see
control what
it.
No, I didn't move there to look at that.
So what?
I'm saying that I lived there, okay, and my residents live there, and everyone around me lives there. We didn't live there to look at that, and now all of a sudden it's going to
Okay, so because you lived there before they moved there, you think that you have some sort of say-so of what they can build around you.
I think we should. Yes.
Okay, so
absolutely.
you don't have the same private property rights that I hold. You don't believe in the same private property rights.
What is private property?
Private property means you own the property. You get to decide what you do with it as long as you don't impose a cost on an involuntary third party.
Okay, and the costs are getting imposed on us.
Yeah. You can see lights. Oh, what a cost?
No, the costs are getting imposed on us.
No, they're not.
My taxes have not gone down in the city of Red Oak and in the areas that are around. The taxes have not gone down. I don't care if that.
Oh, well, that must be the data center's fault. Yep, Blanton can't build data centers. His taxes have gone up, so we can't build data centers. Anywhere that taxes have gone up, that means no data centers. You hear how these are all flawed arguments, every single one of them? Admit it. You just want to be able to control what other people can do with their private property, and you know that that's wrong. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. We're having it out over data centers again. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP. And if you missed my last caller, it was something that keeps coming up over and over in the data center debate. So many of the arguments against data centers aren't even against data centers. They're just against developing property next to yours. And how I moved to the country and I didn't move out here for someone to come build something next to me. And it's not even data center specific. You know, if that's your complaint, would you feel better if it was a new gas station, if it was a Buc-ee's, or if it was a hot dog stand, or if it was a Subway? And if your complaint is still no, then you don't really even have a problem with data centers. You just think that you can control what other people do with their private property if it's within eyesight of yours. And that's the classic, not in my backyard, the old NIMBY argument. Now, for the data center specific arguments, they all fall apart pretty quick. Electricity, water, whatever. But I'm just in a weird spot here that a data center being built in Westlake has been stopped by Keller. So it's crazy from my point of view that you could somehow make a grievance, you could appeal to your local government power and affect what someone else can do with their private property that doesn't affect you. And by affect you, I don't mean you can see it. It doesn't affect you. It has no negative impact on your life other than you can see it. I think that's a ridiculous complaint that has no merit, but it seems to be winning all over the place and kind of ticks me off. But if people from the next town over can do that too, now we're seeing our private property rights diminished even further. And I'm surprised more people aren't putting their foot down on something that far. All right, we're only going to do this for one more segment. I'm not going to get beat up for the rest of the hour on data centers. This is Ken in Decatur. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey there. I disagree with you. I'd like to reference earlier in the show you said that that Abbott's acting like a Pennsylvania governor or,
yes.
Whatever.
Or Bernie Sanders or AOC or the Chinese Communist Party. They all agree with you on data centers, okay. Ken.
You're being a little bit extreme.
They don't agree with you on data centers?
No, sir.
Are you closer to Bernie Sanders or me on data centers?
Would you allow me to finish my...
Go ahead.
Okay. I think that politicians can agree on a lot of things and be in disagreement on, philosophy and ideology. However, in this case, as I'm sure you know, that our elected officials have been hired to represent us. I have talked to many people about data centers, private individuals, landowners, whatever. I've run across not a single one that said, I really want a data center here. Okay, so two things need to happen. Number one, the people have to be convinced that it's in their best interest to have the data center. The administration or the technology companies, whomever is responsible, should do a better job of communicating why it's in their best interest.
No, see, let me tell you why I have a problem with that before you get to your next point. I think your rights, your constitutional rights, your individual rights, your Enlightenment thinker rights should be pretty solid and concrete no matter what the grievance is from your neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they do a good job promoting data centers or they do a terrible job promoting data centers, you still shouldn't have a violation of your individual private property rights because your neighbor has a grievance.
No, my concept and my thought, maybe I'm doing a bad job of conveying it to you, but my concept is those people were elected, Abbott, Shapiro, whatever, to represent the people. Okay, I've run across few people, not one that I can recall, that said, I really want a data center here.
Would that change your mind if you did meet a person that said they want a data center?
It would enlighten me.
Okay, I want a data center next to my house. Now what's your argument?
You do?
Yeah, I do. I want two of them. I want my house to be surrounded by data centers. Now what's your philosophical argument?
I don't think you're being realistic. Okay. And, if you're just going to turn it into a kid's game. Then,
and no, it's not a kid's game. You were given a philosophically flimsy argument, and I dismantled it in one sentence.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, well, no. You were saying, look, the problem is I can't meet one person who wants a data center next to their house. Well, now you have. Now what do you have to say?
I don't think you're being honest. I think if they popped up all around you, okay, you'd have the for sale sign up real quick. All right? I don't want one like I don't want a wind turbine like the state of New Jersey did not want a bunch of wind turbines. Okay.
Hang on a second. Can I just turn you down real quick? Does everyone see what happened there? This is a classic goalpost move. He was making the case that these things are bad because nobody wants them. But when I present him with the idea that maybe some people want them, he just moved on to the next thing without admitting his initial premise was baseless. That's all. Anyway, go ahead.
Companies and the politicians getting money to their political action committees. Who exactly wants them?
I do.
Besides those two.
You do.
You do.
Everybody who's going to go home and watch Netflix tonight wants them. Everyone who's using a smartphone today, right now, a lot of them have them in their left hands. They're using data centers.
I have neither.
Oh, really?
Okay.
What are you calling me on? Are you calling me on a flip phone? Are you calling?
It's not a smart. It's flip phone.
A flip phone. That's great. That's great. Did you know that they changed the cellular technology to SIP packets, so you're still using the internet infrastructure to make a cellular call?
Fine, well, and good.
And even if you were using a landline, we switched out all the voice over IP. You are using data centers right now saying people don't understand why these data centers are good. You're using one right now.
I didn't say that they're good or bad.
No, I'm telling you they're good. They're not indifferent. They are good. You're using one right now.
Why it's in our best interest.
Does everyone else appreciate the delicious comedy that you just heard? This guy is calling me in using a data center, saying they've done a terrible job explaining what data centers bring to the country, what good they are. You're using one right now. I am streaming this video via data centers. You can go check it out later online on Facebook using data centers. And I'm not trying to pick on you, Ken. I've heard this from quite a few people. I've gotten emails from people saying, what good are they? I mean, you're sending me an email. This is what good they are. Well, what do we get out of them? The internet. Yeah, but what does that do? Everything that's connected to the internet. Every time you swipe a debit card, every time you go to the ATM and get cash out, every time you go to the doctor and they can look up your medical records like that, every time you go to the gas station and you put in your little code and you get 10 cents off a gallon, that's because we're all wired together. Anything that uses anything network related, anything that connects to an internet, anything that's on an IP, anything that has a MAC address. When I broadcast from home, I'm using a data center. When I'm looking up the news for you, that's coming off a data center. When I'm pulling audio from the show, that's going to be via a data center. In fact, it's really hard to find things in life that you're doing that don't require a data center these days. You can't open a restaurant without a data center because, look, you've got the computer system. You've got to connect to the mainframe, the corporate office every once in a while. You got to talk to the internet. You've got to pull ads. You've got to advertise on social media. Any business that does anything online uses data center. Anything that you do that has anything to do with online uses data centers. Every video on YouTube that you watch uses a data center. Every thumbs down that this show is getting on social media right now comes ironically from people using a data center. It's the most important thing we have going on right now. We need these things. Stop fighting them. And if you don't understand them, really, stop fighting them. And if you dare call in and say, what do we need these things for? You are not educated enough on this subject to have a strong opinion. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Blue Ribbon is who you call when you have any doubts about your roof. And in fact, if you're if you haven't had a new roof in 20 years and you're thinking about selling your house in the next year or so, you might as well go ahead and get it checked out, because if you need to get it done now, you want to figure out before you get to that process, not when they get into the inspection and they find a problem. Now you got to get it fixed, or they're going to ask for a contingency, or maybe that'll blow up the deal, or they're asked for a lower price, or they'll move on to the next house. So if you have any roofing needs, it could be residential, it could be commercial, trust the family-owned folks at Blue Ribbon Roofing. Been doing it here in North Texas for over 30 years. I trusted them to get on my roof. You can trust them to get on yours. Go to blueribbondfw.com. All right, I'm cutting a deal here. One more segment of data center callers, but all the callers are going to go really fast so I can squeeze in 4 of you, okay? Deal? Deal, guys? Do I even have to set up that? If you're just joining us, data centers have been going on. The latest fight is in Westlake, where Keller got a judge to stop a Westlake approved data center because the people of Westlake don't know what they need in their own town. The people of Keller have to tell them. And I'm just wondering how far the dilution of private property rights are going to be tolerated in the name of being scared of data centers. It's blowing my mind where this is coming from. Jeremy in Red Oak, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, man, how's it going? Here's the deal. I don't really care about the data centers where they build them. I prefer them to build them in the city. I'm a small rancher. I raise cows for, that's how I pretty much make a living. You made a comment the other day that said that we figured out how to grow crops on less land, we produce more. That's fine if you figured out how to make a cow eat less grass.
No, I haven't figured out how to make a cow eat less grass, no.
My problem with the data centers is they're building out in the rural areas, out in the farmland and stuff like that, and the ranch land stuff that we can use. Well, they're outpricing what a normal small rancher like me can afford to do. And then everybody gripes about beef prices and everything else. Well, it takes roughly 18 months to get a calf to market weight. Well, if I'm having to substitute hay or feed or whatever to get that calf to there, I'm losing money. I'll be out of business. And I don't understand. If y'all are all so gung-ho with data centers, build them in the city. Why do y'all got to move them out here? There's a ton of vacant buildings up in the city. Move them up that way.
Yeah, well, I find that exhausting because the guy that's going to call after you is going to be like, why do you have to build them in the city where right around where people live? Why can't you build them out in the middle of nowhere? Didn't you hear a guy like 3 calls ago say, why can't you build them out in the middle of nowhere instead of by where people live?
Yeah, and I heard that, and that makes no sense. And that's one of the guys that's griping about him having.
Okay, also the same argument goes, is this specific to data centers? Would you be okay if they were building the Buc-ee's out in your farmland, or would you gripe about that too?
No, I'd gripe about that because they're outpricing me for
okay. So your problem isn't even with data centers. It's the same old not in my backyard development argument.
I have no idea. I don't care that it's my backyard.
You seem to care.
No, I care because it's outpricing me for what I can do.
So you do care.
Yeah, I do because
you've already said twice that you don't care, but it sounds like you do.
It takes roughly an acre and a half to raise one cow on one. Okay, you say you're from Bug Tussle, you're from a farming community. You should know these things.
What makes you think I don't know these things?
You're the same guy that gripes about the price of inflation and the price of hamburgers and the price of steaks and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and that's because we have deficit spending that's crushing the dollar. Real quick. Okay, so what's your cutoff then, Jeremy? If they're using too much farmland, what percentage of farmland would you be okay being used for data centers? Is it 5%? Is it 3%? Is it 1%?
No, I'm not okay with them using any farmland because here's the whole deal.
No farmland?
Hang on. Let me finish my remark. If you got all these vacant buildings, like you're talking about the city hall deal, you're griping about that deal. Okay, let's put a data center in the city hall that they want to tear down.
I'm okay with doing both. What's wrong with doing both?
Let's put them in warehouses.
All right, Jeremy, I want you to listen because I want to try and get in some more calls here. If we build every data center that already exists in Texas and added everyone that's proposed in Texas, the total land usage would be 120,000 acres. That would be out of our total farmland. That would be 0.08% of farmland. You mean to tell me taking 0.08% of total farmland out of circulation is causing the crunch on cattle prices? That mathematically does not make sense. And whoever told you that was lying to you, and you need to go back, slap them in the face, and then not believe anything they've ever tell you again for the rest of your life. Bill in Waco, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yes, sir. I am very much in favor of data centers. I generated electricity my entire adult life. I now work for a data center. A few days after they announced that Greg Abbott had put this moratorium on, they let us know that we're adding an additional building where we're operating a data center. And the town where I am, they love the data center. They've done a lot of things beneficial for the town and for the area. And so,
like what? Tell the people.
The data center. They've donated money. They've built buildings for the schools. They've done some stuff for the churches in the area. They've added a ball field. They're doing all kinds of things. There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of improvement.
Yeah, I see that. I see them like sponsoring soccer tournaments for rec leagues out in the middle of nowhere. Thank you, Bill. Justin in, what is this? St. Joe. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yes, sir. So I'm not calling to advocate or be against anything here. I'm just adding an aspect to the conversation that's crucial, and I don't hear anyone bring it up, and that are the small modular nuclear reactors. And last year, before this all got to be a thing in the media, Greg Abbott said he's going to turn the state of Texas into the nuclear capital of the world. And I believe that this is very closely related, because if that happens, there's not going to be an electricity issue. We'll have more than we know what to do with. So I would like to hear more conversation regarding that. It's very important. I think there are some benefits to that, and I think it needs to be a central part of the conversation.
Man, I think that 1,000%. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, if you are worried about the power usage, then you should be advocating for more power plants or more power plant technology, or what can we do to address that? Not stop the data center. Thank you. All right. I can't do one more. All right, I'm out of time. I am so sorry. I got to everyone but one. Sorry, Kevin. All right, coming up next on The James Show, I'm going to break down some of the election results from last night and what that means for November. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm going to apologize in advance for how stupid this segment's about to be. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Don't blame me. Blame data centers. And you can also blame, in small part, Taylor Swift's brother-in-law. God, this is so stupid. I can't believe I have to bring you this. Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce's brother, which I think he retired. Isn't he out of the NFL? Yeah, he retired. Travis is still playing. But Jason Kelce, who was kicking our butts on the Eagles for all those years, damn him, he did a commercial where he teamed up with the company that makes both Liquid Death. Have you seen Liquid Death at the gas station? It's a water that comes in a can. They also have sparkling version. It's just sparkled water. And they also make Garage Beer. They have teamed up with Jason Kelce in an ad making fun of data centers. They have this new program where they want you to buy either Liquid Death, the water, or Garage Beer, and collect your pee and send it to the nearest data center to cool off the data center computers instead of wasting water. They're collecting your pee for data centers. I'm telling you this is stupid. I didn't make this up. But Train on the breaks like, oh, man, look on TV. And I looked on Fox News. Jason Kelce's in an anti-data center ad. And we were just talking about data centers. So here's going to be the dumbest 90 seconds of your Wednesday.
AI data centers waste millions of gallons of water. That's why Liquid Death and Garage Beer decided to team up. We want your pee to cool these data centers. We want your pee.
What?
Please give us your pee.
No.
Let's pee on computers together.
Pee on computers, okay.
We need lots of pee. Endless gallons of pee. Join our important endeavor. We want your pee. Please give us your pee. Let's pee on computers together and save humanity. We want your pee.
With Garage Beer's classic light beer and Liquid Death sparkling energy, the light beer of energy drinks, it's never been easier to create pee.
Let's pee on computers together and save humanity.
So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and have another Garage Beer or Liquid Death sparkling energy. Then send your pee to the AI data center of your choice. We even make it easy with these collectible, sealable mugs.
How about no?
No, you can't have my pee. No, that's this is the side you're on. Anti-data center people, are you on with the Swiftie crowd? Is this your team? That looks like he's wearing your jersey over there. Is that okay? Is that embarrassing? Is that cool? Does that make you look good? God, that was dumb. I'm sorry. I have to do that to you sometimes. Sometimes I get these things and I know you want to hear it. It's just, there's no way for me to share that information without it looking dumb. All right, next up, I wanted to do a quick recap of what happened last night. There was some more of the primary season that happened, and Byron Donalds actually won to be the Republican candidate for the next governor of Florida, and Governor DeSantis is termed out. Heck, I want him to run for president anyway, but Byron Donalds, it's so fun to watch how they don't point out that he very well could be the first black governor of Florida. Now, remember, if it is on Team Blue and there's some sort of landmark that is being passed by Team Blue, you're going to hear it in every story. Ketanji Affirmative Action Jackson, the first black female Supreme Court Justice. Sonia Sotomayor was the first Latina, Hispanic female justice. And then you even had Elena Kagan, who was the first female justice who, played softball. You know what I'm saying, right? But Byron Donalds, is he going to be addressed on CNN every time they bring it up? Hey, it's good. Potentially he's running to be the first black governor of Florida. No, actually, they don't want to do that because that might actually engender support from his own community. And we wouldn't want that now, would we? Now, let me show you why I'm super happy Byron Donalds is probably going to be your next Florida governor. He's one of the guys that deserves it. Who cares if he's black? He was one of the guys that actually stood up against the coronavirus madness when it was happening. And there were a lot of Republicans who were like, hey, this is unprecedented time, so just wear a mask and stay home if you can, and we'll all get through this together. And it was Ron DeSantis, it was Byron Donalds, it was Kristi Noem. There was only a handful of people who were actually standing up, not only standing up against it, but then going on in the media and just taking punches. So here is Byron Donalds on Chris Cuomo's program on CNN back in 2021, just taking, he didn't have to take all this criticism. This negatively affected him. He was flying in the face of criticism when the easy thing would just be like, say what everyone else is saying and go along to get along, even if you're wrong. Byron Donalds showed that his principles were more important than the popular narrative at the time, and I'm happy he's being rewarded for it. Just look at this flashback from 2021.
An aspect of vaccine hesitancy is politics, especially in your state. Don't Fauci, Florida. We all know that was about. Do you feel responsible for spreading a message where I'm not going to take it because I don't care what Biden wants? Byron Donald's not going to take it because he doesn't care what Biden wants. You think that's a good message for people to hear?
I chose not to get vaccinated because I chose not to get vaccinated. I already had COVID-19 once. I'm 42 years old. I'm in very good health. I actually get checkups regularly and do all those things. That's a personal decision for myself. Members of my family, my wife, my 3 kids, they've all had COVID. They're not getting vaccinated. They're all healthy. That is a decision they've chosen to make.
All right. Freedom isn't just defined as the bold and ability to be strong and wrong. It's about doing the right thing, the best thing.
Go get the vaccine. I fully promote you doing that.
But if you don't
at the same
get
time,
it,
if
then
there are
other
Americans
people
who
are
don't want to
vulnerable
get
to
it,
you.
they
Listen,
shouldn't be forced to do so.
Nobody, but see, that's the thing. It's a false choice. This isn't about you won't force
It's
me.
not a false choice.
It is.
That's actually the accurate choice, Chris.
It's not an accurate choice. Nobody's forcing anybody.
Chris Cuomo owes Byron Donalds an apology for getting all of that wrong and for trying to embarrass him and for using the platform that he got not to inform his listeners, not to inform his audience, but to front the propaganda that he was either too stupid to recognize or he was in on it. Byron Donalds wasn't. In the hindsight, hindsight's 2020. In that exchange, Byron Donalds looks like a genius and Chris Cuomo looks like an easily led automaton who has no idea what he's saying. He was just willing to pass along whatever he has to say so he can be on TV. That's all that was. So go Byron Donald. Good. I hope you're the next governor of Florida. Coming up next, when Don't Tread on Me comes a little too real, California has some new regulations on tire tread, and it's even more ridiculous than you're conjuring up in your head already. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, the double irony of don't tread on me is not lost. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. This story, so dumb, it could only come out of California, where the California Economic Commission, or whatever it's called, dug up a 30-year-old law that said, well, they can make regulations on vehicles as long as that's in the public interest and when it comes to emissions and climate change. And so they've reinterpreted this new law, and without passing anything through a state legislature, some bureaucrat just decided that they're now going to control what tires you can and can't put on your car. More specifically, these new rules are going to outlaw 70% of the tires that are bought in California now. And what's this all about? Well, this is all about reducing our oil consumption. Really? Why is that? Well, it'll save money. It'll be more fuel efficient. It'll help with global warming. It's like now it feels like you're just throwing noodles at the wall to see what sticks. But you can hear it for yourself. This lady's name is Nancy Skinner.
What happened? Was it like, how did this happen?
Well, we regulate hair dryers, TVs, refrigerators, all kinds of appliances, right? And tires are really not much different. So I think we've got some pretty good experience within our shop that does that. And the tires, it's like if I'd been on the commission those 20 years ago, maybe we wouldn't have taken so long, but at least we're doing it today.
So did you push it? You were the one who said, let's do this?
The chair and the rest of us especially, look at the gas prices everyone's experiencing. Look at how much we're paying for gas. If we can bring each Californian's costs down just a little bit, then why wouldn't we? They have the moral excuses in their head to regulate anything they see fit. You understand, like when they tell you the philosophical backing, just like when we're talking about data centers, I'm super focused on the philosophical backing of these arguments, because this is what gives them in the permission structure in their head that they're not a tyrant. They're not violating your freedoms. And they're not, the pro-choice crowd won't even let you choose your own tires. That's not even a joke. So where are y'all pro-choice? I can't choose my own straw. I can't choose my own tires. I can't choose when and where I build data centers. What choice do I have? If and only if I want to terminate a pregnancy? Is that the only place where y'all are in favor of choice? Where you're hands off? Hey, whatever. How about whatever tire I decide to use? That's between me and my mechanic. Shouldn't the same like abortion arguments work here? The government shouldn't be getting involved in what's best for the car driver. That should be between him and the salesman at the auto desk at Walmart or Sam's. And Sam's the best place to get tires, not to get sidetracked there. But yeah, they're going to be regulating tires now. And what's this for? So you'll get a little bit better gas mileage. Well, what's that going to do? Well, that's going to save you money. Not if I have to spend more on tires. Man, just get the hell out of California. They don't want you there. They just, oh man, what a prison that place is turning out to be. It's an open air prison. They don't let you build without specific permission on everything, not just data centers. They hyper-regulate everything from your business to the tread and your tires. Do you people ever get sick of this? And in some other economically illiterate news, Meta's back in court. Meta. They're accused of making their product addictive. I'm sorry. Unless you're building coffins, doesn't every business want repeat customers? And you understand why coffins don't fit in, but.
Is back in court this week in a landmark case accusing the company of designing its platforms to be addictive. This time, the fight is in federal court. Opening statements got underway yesterday, and the trial could take up to 7 weeks. Meta calls the claims unsubstantiated, and the company is currently appealing 2 court losses out of California and New Mexico on Meta's harmful impact on children.
So let me get this straight. Meta's in trouble because there's an app out there who wants their customers to use their app as often as possible. doesn't that count for pretty much every app ever created in the history of mankind? Is anybody out there building an app saying, I want people to use this once and then never again? And who's to decide what's addictive? Sugar's addictive, and that's actually killing people. You outlawing that? Yeah, look out. Meta made the too addictive, but it's just for kids. Listen, people, unless you have young kids right now, if you're older, like if you're already past the kid rearing age and you're saying, well, this is bad. They're targeting this at kids. They can't handle the kids and the cell phone. It's a bad mix. You can relax about that. We've got that all figured out. They won't talk about that on the news because it doesn't scare you into giving up your rights. But I'll tell you the truth. You don't have to be scared anymore. The parental controls on phones is so thorough and so useful that if a kid does have a problem with a cell phone, that's on the parents now. Because we can actively control on our kids' phones how much time they spend on Facebook. Actually, none of our kids have Facebook. But on these individual apps, you whitelist the apps that they're allowed to download, and then you give them a set amount of time that they can use each day on that app. And when it's done, that app turns off. We can also brick the phones. But Garrett, you probably know what I mean when we say brick a phone, right? You know what I mean? Brick a phone? Yeah, to brick the phone. Trina, do you know what it means to brick a phone? You have kids. Brick a phone is when you turn it off remotely. Yeah, so it doesn't do anything. It's just a brick. So you can set it to where it doesn't do anything for apps. All it can do is take calls and texts. You can set it to where it doesn't take texts. All it does is take calls. You can set it to where it only takes calls from the favorites list. And so you can set like 5 family members in there, and that's the only people they can talk to. If there's any problems with kids doing anything bad or getting addicted on their phone, that's no longer the problem of the phone. That's no longer the problem of Apple. That's no longer the problem of Meta or Facebook or Instagram or any of those. It's a problem with the parents. The parental controls are there, so everyone can relax. We don't need to hand over any more power and authority and control to government politicians and bureaucrats. We don't need new regulations. We don't need new laws passed. We don't need anybody else getting involved. Stay the hell out. The free market has already taken care of this problem better than any government could anyway. And so if anything, we need to be repealing some of the dumb laws we've already done, like the age restriction on porn sites here in Texas. Get rid of that, because if you don't want your kids to get on porn sites, you can totally control it. If you give your kid a computer and let them have it in their room, you can put parental controls on their browser. I don't know. I think people like to use the fear, of kids being preyed upon by evil corporations, acting all corporation-y. And when you plug it into the Austrian economic worldview, that makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. The worst thing you can do is put that under government control. All right, that's going to do it for my time for today. Thank you very much for hanging out, even if you disagree with me vehemently on data centers or any of these other topics. Leonard Skinner and Foreigner are coming to Dos Equis Pavilion August 28th. Tickets on sale now. LiveNation.com. And then after that, September 11th, Tim McGraw is going to be at Dos Equis Pavilion on his tour. Tickets also, Tim McGraw, good one. Tickets also at LiveNation.com. All right, that's going to do it for my time today. If you need any more James Show action, go check out the podcast or any of the awesome highlights I put on social media. Mark Levin's next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.